Today we're going to do a lab on deforestation and the carbon cycle. So everybody has the link already and it is already pulled up on your computer. So this is your home page and this is where you should start. We're going to follow along and do this together. There will be times when you can kind of play around with some of the websites and see what you like. So the first thing I want you to do is go to this section right here. This says open the student lab. That's where we should be going, and it will open in a new tab. So we're going to click that and you can see it comes right up here. It says Earth Labs, Deforestation and the Climate Cycle. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to read the introduction here. So we're going to click on this picture because I want you to look at this picture. This is a picture that shows some deforestation. So I want you to examine this image. You can see that all of these trees here have been cut down and there's still some back there that they could be used later for deforestation, but you can see that the process has started right here. Much of the earth used to be covered by forest, but they have been cleared for things, for just different things. What kind of things do you think we have cleared forest for? Let's see here. Okay, yep, farming is one of them. So people have cleared forests for farmland. And what's a benefit of clearing a forest for farmland? Absolutely. So we can have more food and crops, and farmers can have room for different animals. So that does help our society a little bit by clearing out some of those forests. Other things would be to put up different buildings or to include access to other places that you couldn't go to before. So one example is the Amazon rainforest. There are parts of that rainforest you were not able to go to before that you can now because people have cleared these forests. They've done, deforestation. So it's most particularly true in regions with temperature climates where agriculture has taken on an early hold. So as we said previously, we brought out farming. So that's kind of, in areas where farming is prevalent, that's where you're going to see a lot of deforestation. The Roman Empire was in control of Europe. 90% of the continent was forest and land. Today, as indicated in this image that we're looking at here, Western Europe has lost over 99% of its primary forest. So think about that. 99% because of deforestation. That's a lot of forest loss. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to click out of this image and we'll scroll down a bit. And if you have any questions, you just let me know and we will see if we can answer. So here it just tells you after completing the lab, you should be able to describe the relationship between forests, climates, and carbon cycle, describe how deforestation causes changes in the carbon cycle, and describe the reason for deforestation. And we are actually going to use a global forest cover tool, which will kind of let us look at different areas over time in what it looks like there because of deforestation. So we're going to go to the next page. So scroll down and click to next page. So deforestation and the carbon cycle. So this we kind of actually talked about here in our last picture. So we're going to click on that and you can see in the very top part of this picture is the original forest cover. You can see how darker that is compared to this image here from 2005. So this is where we talked about, this region is where we talked about the 99% of its primary forest being lost. You can just see, you can see by the picture. Sometimes that's the best thing to do in that tool that we use later that will really show you. If you're a visual learner, you can see the amount of forests that have been taken due to deforestation. Now you can see down here this other picture, you can say, oh, but look, there's still a lot there. But look at how dark this image is compared to this image. That's a huge change. Okay, we're going to click out of that and we will come down here because we're going to talk about the integral role that forests play in Earth's climate. So we're going to click on this picture here and you're going to see there's 3 different types of forests: tropical forest, temperate forest, and boreal forest. So tropical and temperate forests both have cooling influences on the climate through their strong evaporate cooling rates. So they help with our cooling. So if we didn't have the tropical and temperate forests, it would be a lot hotter in our world. So that comes to a thing for climate change. When you have deforestation and you get rid of trees in the forests, sometimes then our air, because it has more carbon dioxide in it, gets warmer. And you can see here, we have, so in the tropical forest, we have a strong CO2 absorption, a strong evaporate cooling, so that helps cool the atmosphere, and moderate sun absorption. And the temperate forest has the same thing, strong CO2, moderate evaporate, so this one isn't as strong as this one, but it still is important, and a moderate sun absorption. But when we come to the boreal forest, we have a moderate CO2 absorption, so this forest absorbs less CO2. It has a weaker evaporate cooling, but it has a strong sun absorption. So let's hear. Forests, they have a cooling and a warming influence on the climate based on their albedo effect. The boreal forest is in the northern latitudes. It's darker than its surrounding terrains and absorbs the sun more easily. So we can see that in the image. And how do they cool? Does anybody know that? How does the forest help cool the atmosphere? Nobody? Okay. A forest has a cooling influence on the climate by absorbing the CO2 from the atmosphere, and it stores that carbon in their leaves, wood, and roots. And then when it evaporates, it cools it off. So it has a strong evaporative cooling system. All right, so let's click out of this image and we'll come down here. So the causes and stages of deforestation. If left to themselves, forests impacted by natural events such as wildfires will regenerate over time. So if a wildfire causes deforestation, the forest will regenerate if people leave it alone. So that's the biggest factor, is the human factor. They can also be restored by reforestation and afforestation projects. So that is the human factor if they come in and start replanting these trees and rebuilding this forest. But deforestation is different. Deforestation is when trees are not replaced and the land is converted to a non-forest use. So that's where we were talking about farming, agriculture, or putting up buildings and, building houses or businesses, or even just making trails so we can see other parts of the forest. Deforestation has long-term effects on the carbon cycle, the climate, and the environment. So let's just look here at this. You can see the different stages of deforestation. We have the trees, we have the cut down trees. It looks like they cleared the trees here and they have burned some of the trees. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So here we're going to just watch a quick little clip from CNN, and it's going to explain deforestation. I'm going to make this bigger for you.
There's no question that deforestation leaves the balance of humanity and the balance of the planet poor and more impoverished. It's a short-term economic gain that benefits few at the expense of the many. Deforestation is the practice of cutting down forests for various different reasons, but it's fundamentally cutting down trees and leaving behind a vast open wasteland. Deforestation is most common in countries like Brazil, Indonesia, and Mexico, Papua New Guinea, and Russia. The The main causes of deforestation can be classified into three categories. Basically, industrial uses, chopping down the forest to build factories or to build residential areas. The second one is agriculture, so cutting down forests in order to grow, for example, palm oil plantations. Agricultural deforestation can also be caused by non-food crops, for example, pulp and paper plantations. And the third cause is livestock. So in many places, for example, in Brazil, deforestation is caused by farmers clearing the land to create pasture land for cows. Deforestation can happen on a lot of different scales. It can be anything from illegal squatting, a dozen folks in a local village using small rudimentary chainsaws and cutting down the trees. And then, of course, on the other end of the spectrum is massive industrial scale deforestation, where they bring lots of heavy machinery, very advanced technology, and they can go in and clear forests in a very short amount of time. Deforestation affects the environment in two main ways. Trees, of course, absorb carbon dioxide, and as human beings put more and more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, the more trees we cut down, the more we hinder the ability of the planet to balance how much carbon is in the atmosphere. But another impact of chopping down forests is, of course, reducing the habitat for animals to live in. Every year, over 1,000 different species go extinct around the world. That is a conservative estimate. A big chunk of that happens because of deforestation.
All right, so that video just really told us the same stuff that we had already talked about. In agriculture, that deforestation is used for agriculture, for cropland, for different farming animals. It is used for to build buildings, different things like that. So it says here, we are going to come down here. Describe how deforestation can impact the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So this is one of the questions that you are going to answer for me. So you think about that here. Your answer should be, we've already really kind of answered that, but you might get some more information as we go. So trouble in the Amazon. We're going to talk about the Amazon because when we think about the Amazon, we think about the loss of biodiversity, the loss of homes for animals, all these different types of, not just animals that are there, but there's all different types of trees and plants, and all of these things are being killed with deforestation in the Amazon rainforest. So let's see here. We're going to watch another video about Amazon deforestation. It's going to take us a minute to load here. So what kind of animals do you think would be affected if we were to clear out the trees from the forest? Right? In the tropical rainforest, we might lose monkeys.
Another one of the really
here we
big
go.
stories of environmental change is the deforestation in the Amazon. An interesting part of the story starts at the river, a long ways to the north, actually. And if we zoom in here along the Amazon, way up in the what looks like virgin forest still, and is a lot of it is, you can see a road that leads from the Amazon here and along through more or less untouched rainforest for hundreds and hundreds of miles. And as you get south far enough, you start to see clearing along the road where farmers are starting to clear the forest and farm. The road it facilitates the farming, the road facilitates the population coming out there, and then all along that road the land is cleared, and when there isn't any land next to the road, another road is cut off in another direction, and people start clearing that. And progressively you get this fishbone pattern that expands and expands and grows together into things that look more like this. And The forest is just a handful of little scraps anymore that are scattered throughout between farm fields where it's either a low spot that's wet or for some other reason isn't ideal to farm. Amazon Basin deforestation is along an arc in the states of Rondônia, Mato Grosso, and Para. And from 1999 to 2012, it's quite striking. This whole area here in eastern Para state, if you go back to 1999, the vast majority of it is intact forest, and you can just see the herringbone roads come out through the forest, and then roads come out from those, and the land clearing and the forest disappearing. And it's made all the more obvious with these two protected areas here, which don't disappear. Makes it really quite compelling to see. As you look at this, these are, a lot of people call the Amazon the lungs of the world. It's a little bit at a time when you're on the ground and you clear an area for soybeans and you can feed some people. But when you look at it in the bigger picture again, as Landsat allows you to do, you can see that it's not something we can do forever.
Okay, so with that video, we learned that, the Amazon is considered the lungs of the world because it is a large portion of the forest that, clears the carbon dioxide out of the air, helps with the cooling of the atmosphere. And what I really enjoy about these videos is it's showing you a time lapse. So you can see from what we just saw, from 2000 to 2010, you can see the difference as each year goes by, and that really shows you, like, hey, this is how much we had in 2000, and this is what it looks like now in 2010. Of course, that was 10 years ago. I can about imagine it looks even more now that they've had 10 more years to do this. So what are some things that you think, how would you advocate for them to stop deforestation? Is it a good thing, or do you consider it a bad thing? Because there are good parts of deforestation, like this gentleman said in the video, that you can clear some land to grow beans so you can feed a few people. But then we also know, as we were talking before the video started, that it's a negative thing because you're taking away homes of different animals, different species. You are taking away the cycle that helps get the carbon dioxide out of the air and helps put the cooling elements back into the air. We're removing all of this, and it's an issue. Yes, sometimes when we remove that stuff, it's for a good thing. Other times it's not. So some of the other animals, because we kind of got talking about that, we said we might be able, we might lose some different monkey species because, in the rainforest. Here closer to home, we have more things like birds and squirrels and deer and elk and bear and, all of these different things that live in the forest. If we take away their forest, they have no place to live. That's their home. It's the equivalent of somebody coming and burning down your town because they want to build something else there, or clearing out your town because they feel something else is better there. Yes, it may have a positive impact for others, but it would have a negative impact for you. So let's see here. So that's why, we just said, in terms of the carbon cycle, explain why deforestation in the Amazon is a global concern and not a regional concern just for the Brazilians. Well, because they have a large portion of our forests, and so that's the lungs of the world. They are what helps to breathe in the carbon dioxide and breathe out their cooling components so that our atmosphere isn't super hot. We don't have global warming. But if they keep doing the deforestation, then that's a problem. Here is another picture. This is called slash and burn farming. This is another thing that I want you to kind of just look at and pay attention to. So slash and burn is a technique that is used. It's used to clear and prepare land for agriculture and cattle. So what they do is they cut forests months ahead of the dry season. So during their wet season, they cut the forest So that's the slashing part. They dry out and then burn that area. And then what is left is ash from the burned trees. And that ash will fertilize the soil. So that is really good for what they're going to grow. So people do that if they want to grow crops or rice, corn, beans, or even if they're trying to grow grass to feed their cattle. That soil now is really rich with ash from the trees, and it really helps. It helps what they're going to grow or these animals that they're going to put in there. Unfortunately, the nutrients, such as like nitrogen, they're used up really quickly, and the land becomes barren because then the farmers have to move and they slash and burn another area. So then you have this area that has been slashed and burned, and now it's not good for doing crops. It's not good for having, cattle or livestock. So you just have this area that is now barren. And let's see here. Let's go down a little bit. So I just want to show you this picture here. So that's kind of what the slash and burn is. You can see there's people walking through there. And then this is a picture. He's an ecologist. He has lived in and studied the rainforest in Honduras. And he has observed slash and burn and was creating a vicious feedback cycle that destroyed forests in order to create agricultural land that could be farmed only temporarily. So, he's describing that. The cleared land turned into a nutrient-deficient, barren wasteland. So that's exactly what we said. Farmers grew poorer and poorer, and then the farmers cut down more rainforest. So this guy here, he was an advocate for stopping slash and burn. So as we talked about regular deforestation, how it can be a positive and a negative for people, slash and burn can be a positive and negative for people. It's a positive, but it's a very short-term positive. All right, so there is a couple of videos that you can watch if you wanted to go back and watch some of those, but we're not going to do that today. But if you wanted to learn more about that, there is a couple of links there. And so in what ways does deforestation impact local people and their economies? This is another one of the questions that I would like you to answer. What is one thing, I just want you to give me one example of locally. If somebody cut down forests locally close to you. Now some of you, may not live close to a forest, but use your imagination. So if the deforestation was happening in our community, what would happen? We've talked about different things here. The climate would change in our area because we would lose the cooling impact of our forests. Our wildlife and the different plants would disappear. Everything would change. We wouldn't have all that wildlife because they wouldn't have a place to live. Yes, all different ideas. Good job. So just keep thinking about that. That's a question that should be on your mind. And then let's come down here. And these links right here are just some different links for you to go ahead and look at your free time if you would like to. But today we're just going to go ahead and click next. And we're going to go to part B of our lab here. So here you can see, so Haiti is on the left and the Dominican Republic is on the Dominican Republic is on the right. The line is where the boundary is between the two countries. So just look at that. Look at the difference. You can definitely see where more deforestation has happened. All right, so we're going to go ahead and close that out. So I want you to use the Global Forest Watch tool. Investigate changes in the forest cover. We're going to play around with this. And so we're just going to keep going down. And so number 2, it says open and explore how the Global Forest Watch mapping tool works. So let's go there. So this is our lab here. And let's go down. And so let's see here. Discover the world's forests through data. So explore our data. So I want you to remember that what you're looking for is the difference in timelines. And then you're going to go through, you're going to change some of the settings, and then we're going to do an analysis on that section. So we'll do one here together, and then you can have time to kind of play around with this. So here you can see right here, tree cover loss between 2001 and 2019. Right here is where you can change those dates. And then the green area is tree cover in 2010. We're displaying tree cover with 30% canopy density and tree cover for 2010. So we can change the year. Let's just change the year on this right now. And it gives us two options. So we're going to do 2000. So we're going to see the difference. Here is 2000. So look at this. Look at this atmosphere. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to click Analysis. And it says click on a layer on the map. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to click right here. And this is going to analyze just this section. Okay, so that's the Dominican Republic of Congo with a total area of 233, there we go, miles. All right, so it says right here, from 2001 to 2019, the Democratic Republic of Congo lost 4.92 of human primary forests, making up 34% of its total tree cover loss. So see, it's going to give you that information, and it's going to say the Democratic Republic of Congo had 198 MHA of natural forests extending over 85%. That was in 2010. And so let's see here. We can go ahead and we're going to close that out. And then let's go back to There we go. And click backwards. See, so now we can click on a different part. But let's come back here and let's see. So this says less than 30%. Let's do less than 75%. And it automatically changes for you, so you don't have to do anything. And then we can even, so let's go ahead and we'll change that back to less than 30%. And let's just see, I just want to see the timeline between 2001 and 2004. Click play. And then you can just see here, you just got a little bit of these red dots. So you have to look really closely because or pink, I guess they are. So we saw that. So let's go a little bit farther out because we don't see very much change right there, do we? So let's see, does 2007 make much of a difference? Yep, you can see a little bit, the lines are coming up. And then let's just go ahead and skip to 2013. We'll play that one, see it's normal, and then all of the pink lines start popping up. So that's what you're gonna do, that's what I want you to do. I want you to play around with this tool, and you can, there we go. So if you scroll up, it zooms in on that part. If you scroll down, you're going to get different parts of the world. Okay, so if we go here, let's go to the United States. So then I'm going to scroll up. Oops, I don't want to do that. Scroll up a little bit. So I'm in Wisconsin. You're in Wisconsin. So let's analyze Wisconsin. Wisconsin, United States, with a total area 16.9 MHA. So let's see. Here we go. It's going to pop up for us. So it's going to tell us that from 2001 to 2013, Wisconsin lost 233 KHA of tree cover, equivalent to a 3.2% decrease in tree cover since 2000. So that is crazy. So we have lost 3.2% decrease in tree cover since 2000. That's, 2.3% or 3.2% doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. That's a lot of forest that we've lost. So I want you to take the rest of class time and I want you to play around with this. Write down some of your analysis. I want you to pick 5 areas and you can tell me, well, let's just go back to the legend here. And I want you to tell me here, let's go here, 2019. Tell me the different densities that you tried, the timeline that you tried. Scroll in. Let's see if we can go to a specific point. Wisconsin. Let's try Wisconsin Dells. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to analyze Wisconsin Dells, and then I just want you to tell me here. Let's wait for the analysis to pop up. Okay, so I want you to tell me the tree cover loss in that town. So actually it clicked on Columbia, Wisconsin. So you can say that there was an equivalent of 1.8% decrease in tree cover loss. So I want you to pick your different areas, tell me your timeline. So this one, remember we did 2001 to 2019, and just tell me the percentage of decrease in tree cover loss that has happened. So now I'm going to go ahead and give you time, and I want you to turn that in here at the end of class. Remember, you can go back here to our lab, and there are all different, you can click on different videos where the trees are disappearing. You can go back to the previous page, and you can look at some of these links here that give you some of that information we talked about. To talk about the slash and burn farming. If there's anything that you want to learn about after you've done your lab, after you've done this lab, you can go back and review some of that, because we do have our 5 question summary at the end that I will expect you to have answered before next class. So go ahead and explore, and let's learn a little bit more about deforestation.